I had searched for him nearly half of my life. The monster that destroyed my village and my family. I was away on a quest for the king that I succeeded in, though with great difficulty. The king had been attacked and his father killed in combat. He sent me to take his revenge, and I did with skill. On my way home, I imagined seeing my wife and daughter standing in front of our village at the village edge. I fantasized as to their smiles, their beaming faces mirroring my own. Instead, I arrived back at my home greeted with ash and collapsed buildings. Not even the bones of my beloved ones could be found for burial. A lone survivor described a scaled creature of enormous size. I now knew my enemy and where to direct my rage. I rode north, following the stories in the eyewitness testimonies. Each the same: large scales and fire that consumed all. I finally caught up to him in the far north mountains of our quiet kingdom. I waited for him to sleep, as he was too large to attack directly. His eyes shut, and I waited hours until his breath had slowed. During that time, I noticed that his skin was not scaled, but rocky in appearance, difficult to discern while under fire. It was then that I approached barefoot so that my metallic boots could not clank or wake my prey. Almost to his neck, I jerked my foot away from the rocks as his breath chilled the very ground to ice. I hesitated no longer. I pulled back my heavy axe, then chopped into its neck with violent pressure. It awoke, but my first blow was precise. I had felt for its pulse and opened it to the outside air. I quickly swung again, this time tearing as much of its throat out that I could. Pieces of flesh flew everywhere, including on my own face, but I did not care. I would enact justice. It staggered quickly to its feet with one flap of its wings, rose off the ground, flinging me backward off my feet. However, it was too late, and it immediately fell to the ground, gurgling its last animal sounds. I marched triumphantly to its side and chopped for another 10 minutes before its flesh finally released its head from its shoulders. I had accomplished my mission of revenge. I fell crying at its side afterwards, as I now had only my losses to feel. The loss of my Monica, my little Lily. Suddenly another giant creature flew overhead. It had scales and flames of fire exiting its mouth with every huff. It was nearly identical in every way to the other one, except it had scales rather than stones for skin. I noticed on its side frozen claw marks. It winced with every flap of its wings and cried out a shrill that pierced my ears. It was obviously old and had existed for decades. It lived during my lifetime, my father's and my grandfather's, as my home was passed down to me in our little village. Yet none of us had ever seen it, except for my Monica and Lily. Once. The reason being because its natural predator kept it away. Its natural predator that I just killed. I am a fool. I have killed my true enemy's only threat. I see it in the distance now. It flies towards the castle and the king. If you find this scroll, please pray for me. Pray I can one day be forgiven for allowing revenge to blind me to the truth. For now, I am the monster another man will seek for the death of his family. I have become the object of his revenge.